We're on episode 32.
I just don't give a
Which, if you put those numbers together, it's 64, which is 2 away from 66. Which then, if you add it by 600, it's 666.
I would have just said it's 23 backwards. Yeah. That's way spookier.
Well, what's the significance of 23 other than the film?
It'll fuck up Jim Carrey. I don't know.
Well, that's not very significant.
Hold your...
Sorry, Jim Carrey.
I'm sure he watches. He's viewer number 6.
6 out of 12.
Look, you got Luke, and you got Conrad, and you got Lance, and you got Jim Carrey. That's our audience.
My name is Scarlett Marlowe, and I'm a student in urban archaeology.
370 feet beneath this point is a hidden chamber
That might contain a critical missing piece of our history.
How are we supposed to get down there?
Catacombs. There are 200 miles of tunnels right underneath our feet.
They're holding the remains of 6 million corpses.
Stop. This is the Empire of the Dead.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this super spooky edition of Dudes Watch a Movie, where we terrifyingly talk about horrific movies that are so frightening that they're scary. I don't know. It's Halloween time, right?
It's October.
Yeah. I'm the notorious G-I-N-G.
And I am Dead Sprocket.
Yeah. Too sweet, I feel, right? Because we're in France for this movie. We've brought our entire studio with us to France.
We built our replica out of our crafting abilities.
Hon, oui,
Omelette du fromage.
baguette.
We mean no offense, by the way.
I do. I can't be racist against the French, Tom. I've been to Paris, okay.
I've been to Germany. It's close.
All right, Nazi.
Oh my God, not even.
Yeah. How was occupation, you know? Go in there and just go occupy the France. Bastard.
I'm done with you.
So this movie, As Above, So Below, just got recently added to Netflix. And this is going to be one of those movies where we've both definitely seen it multiple times and not that long ago, honestly.
No. This will be my third viewing.
Yeah. So this is going to be a bit different.
Within the year.
What? Wow.
I watched it with you, and then I watched it with Abby, and then we just watched it now.
Well, hot diggity damn.
By the way, you guys, check it out if it's still on Netflix.
I would hope it hadn't been taken down after 2 weeks.
You'd be surprised.
Would highly recommend that you watch it before this. Since we've seen it so many times, we're probably going to talk about like a lot of stuff.
If you haven't gathered from our previous formatting, there's a lot of spoilers involved.
Yeah.
This involves you having seen the film already.
Yep.
If you haven't, well,
Yep.
I guess sorry.
If you like found footage movies, you'll like this. Otherwise, if you like more psychological horror as well as supernatural things like that, or claustrophobic, like if you're a fan of The Descent, you'll probably like this movie.
Hardcore on the psychological horror aspect of it too. It's tagged under like a shitload of tags, but the main ones are horror, mystery, thriller.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the mystery. Maybe mystery.
There's a
It's
little
broad
bit,
term.
yeah. Just a quick breakdown of what happens. You've got Scarlett, who is she's not technically a treasure hunter, but she kind of fills the role of like the Indiana Jones, Lara Croft, Drake role of this, where it's like, I know that there's this thing out there that's supposed to be a myth and I want to find it. She inherited that from her dad. They find proof of the Philosopher's Stone. They believe it to be in Paris, and they have to access the catacombs to get to where they want to go, and all hell breaks loose.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
So let me break down a storyline for you real quick.
I just did.
Well, no, I'm doing the plot.
I just did.
This is my part, though.
Okay, buddy.
Let me have this.
I know.
Anyway.
You're a peacock. You've got to fly.
Miles of twisting catacombs lie beneath the streets of Paris, the eternal home to countless souls. When a team of explorers ventures into the uncharted maze of bones, they uncover the dark secrets that lie within the city of the dead. A journey into madness and terror, as above, so below, reaches deep into the human psyche to reveal the personal demons that come back to haunt us all.
TLDR, shit gets fucked.
Yeah, real
Yeah.
quick. Like, not even like, it doesn't take that long.
Mm-mm.
Straight from the get-go. I want to say, so, I mean, I know this is usually where you talk about it, but I just want to say, right off the get-go, a found footage film is either hit or miss, and this is one of those that actually does it pretty well.
Yep.
You don't get motion sickness for the most part. They just do a really good job at achieving claustrophobia.
Yep. And I don't know that it had to be found footage, but I think it's one of the few cases where it helps.
Mm-hmm. It really gives that uneasy feeling
Yeah.
the entire time.
Since we've both seen this movie multiple times, I kind of initially started my thing here with why does this movie work for me, and then what's still weird, and that is actually in both categories. So they do kind of give an explanation as to why they're recording it, and they're doing a documentary about me finding the stone. But there's not a whole lot of reason for like why he wanted to make that documentary, or why she was recording it before Benji was there recording it. It's kind of just shoehorned in there, like they thought they had to do an explanation, which it's in every found footage movie. It's like, I want to be a filmmaker, so I film everything.
Well, a part of me also feels like maybe she was trying to prove that her father wasn't mad. Because like in the very beginning, she's recording herself breaking in, I won't say breaking in, but illegally going into Iran to find the, I guess kind of her first clue under the paper trail that apparently her father has been leading the whole life, or I guess the whole time, and going insane. So I feel like it was her documenting that my father wasn't crazy. Let me go out to prove this to you. If it takes footage, that's what I'm going to do. There's only so much you can do with written accounts and I guess, hearsay.
Yeah, but if she believed it enough that it was real, I guess she didn't really fully believe it though, because there's a certain point where she's like, it's real. I don't know. It's just kind of shoehorned in there, but it works. It's one of the few movies where it actually works for it. Most of the time, it's just like, we're gonna put the camera on somebody so it's super shaky and you can't see anything. And they do, to an extent, have a couple of those scenes, but it works in the favor of the movie. Like, it's like, fuck what's happening, not, oh man, what am I missing? Like Cloverfield is very, what am I missing right now?
It gives you that first person point of view to make you feel a little bit more immersed, because instead of having like handheld cameras necessarily, they're using like head mounted cameras for the most part. There's just one extra one that they hold, but it pops between the different camera points of view, so it's not one single camera the entire time, which I think helps for here. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm seeing.
Other point we already touched on that I think makes me like this movie a bit more is the fact that although it's a horror movie, it is still kind of based around that Indiana Jones Uncharted style adventure, where there's this piece of mythology that in all intents and purposes in this universe is not real, but there's the one person who's put together the different pieces of the puzzle. They go through all sorts of like traps, and they have to bypass all sorts of other trials to get to where they're going and follow the clues. National Treasure is another movie where I don't know, I always like the idea of the treasure hunt. Claustrophobia from the catacombs is super real in this.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, if you like The Descent, you'll like this movie because it is very similar. It's just underground. You got nowhere to go. The actors are super believable.
Well, Georgie apparently actually has claustrophobia and had to take multiple breaks during the shooting of this film to take a breather. Because, holy shit.
I'd also believe that Benji has claustrophobia, because when he gets stuck, my god, that doesn't
legit.
look... Yeah. This movie also does a really good job of building tension with those things we've already mentioned, as well as just the pacing of it. Once something weird starts happening, they don't immediately just start charging forward to figure out what it is. They're all like, stop, and they're like, what?
Do we
what
really
is
need
that?
to do this?
Yeah. Yep. And a lot of that tension is also gained by the sound design, which does a really good job. They have a really minimal soundtrack. It's mostly like voices and weird chants and like trumpets and things like
that
brass
weird
section.
Gregorian chant sounding shit, and then those horns blasting.
Yep. Those were, I think that's watching it back is like the big thing that made this movie click with me is those bits.
The minimal sound. It gives you more of that immersion where all you hear is they're shouting consistently, the echoing of their voices, and then when it's broken with something that's not voices, it's like, ooh.
And it really helps sell like the weird, unnatural idea of what's going on, because most found footage movies don't have a soundtrack, because it would be weird to be like, yeah, we found this footage and then spliced music over it. Which is another thing with the found footage that's kind of wonky, is at the end, I guess, like, did she cut it all together? How did they get the footage from the ones they lost? It's just that question that'll always be there for found footage movies.
They were all wirelessly hooked up to the cloud,
yeah.
underground.
That you can't get cell phone reception in. I don't know. Things in this movie that were still weird for me, minus we've already talked about the camera. The beginning is kind of clunky. Like, not necessarily when she's in Iran, but after that, when they're doing the interview with Benji, it's really like exposition heavy. Like, hey, this is Nicholas Flamel. This is what he did. This is where he's at. What do you mean? Because my dad killed himself? And like, they're really like putting a lot of things out really quickly.
I mean, they could have kind of gone past that, and maybe when she first saw her dad hanging himself in there, she would have said father or something. Then we would have gapped that already. Yep. And then when she comes out of that tunnel in Iran, the guy, he states, I wrote it down here, his little quote. His quest was a quest for madness, which entails that he was trying this the whole time, and obviously it's a crazy thing that led him to kill himself. So that would have been bridged right there. And obviously, if it's a daughter, she's gonna follow the foot. I mean, some things could have been assumed, but maybe
she didn't have to say that line, because it sounds kind of forced and awkward, and like between the phone call and like, you're correct. With her finding him down there would have
been enough.
Yeah, you would have been able to piece it together. Maybe not on the first time, but if you watch it multiple times, like, you would. Yeah. The pale girl at the beginning.
Ooh, the spooky pale girl.
Yeah, like she walks by at the party and then she's down chanting with the cult. And then I think she's one of the one that makes Georgie fall down. I don't know for sure on that.
I'm not sure, but I think so too.
So that is strange to me, because it brings up the next question of what triggers the supernatural. Like, at what point is it affecting them? Because that's before they ever go down in the tunnels.
I think it's just part of that may just try to feel like it's coincidental. And I feel like the point where everything starts getting all fucking weird is when they decide to go through that entrance that they're not supposed to.
See, that's what I always thought too, but it doesn't make sense that she would be there before. So I'm wondering if it has to do with her going in that other room with the bull in it, maybe.
Probably.
Or the other thing is,
the
I'm
rose
wondering,
key or whatever.
I wonder if her dad potentially started it, and then like that has then inherited to her.
Maybe the madness is hereditary.
Yeah.
I see. That could be. I mean, when you're taking your journey to follow like guesses and whims, maybe you do go a bit crazy.
And that's where I'm wondering if maybe like it would be kind of cool if something, cause she had her dad's book, so maybe something was attached to that book that he had been in those areas, and so it's just like following the path that's like spreading around. I don't know.
I think the one thing though is that it wasn't her that was noticing those people though.
Right, it was Georgie. But
it was Benji. She met up with Georgie at the clock tower.
That's right. But
and then she's the one that told her to go to the nightclub to meet up with what's his nuts, and there's little bits in there where I think it's just, I don't know if there's necessarily a purpose. I think it's more just to add to the uneasy tension that's already there. I mean, I don't know I can't necessarily pinpoint what makes it feel uneasy from the get-go, and it might be because I've seen the movie a couple times. I think during my first viewing, I was even just kind of feeling uneasy about the film itself just in general. But it wasn't, I mean, everything doesn't go to shit until they cross that line at that threshold, but actually even before
it's before that, yeah.
Because when they go through that pile of bones.
Yep. And before that even, the guy tells him to go see Pop is like disappears. He's one of the ghosts that later comes back. So it's like, it's almost like something was trying to make them go there, which is really strange.
They did make some mentions. I looked up on IMDb. I don't know if you've ever seen Dante's Inferno, but essentially there's a part in there where he doesn't want to go to hell exactly. Like, he doesn't really want to, but there's things in there that force him to continue down his path, like this one. When Scarlett and George are in the clock tower discussing the journey to Iran to find the rose key, the bell and clock mechanism begin to move by themselves. This might signify the foreshadowing of George's own life, as he resembles the life of Dante the Inferno, who was forced off a road against his will, having to go through hell himself, which Georgie in this whole entire film is just pushed along the whole
doesn't
entire
want to
time.
go there.
He just doesn't want to.
Yep. And I mentioned the bell in here too. Like they fixed the bell and then it tolls for them.
Yep. They also mentioned how that the encounter with the police officer was like the final push to go, like
made George go down there. And we keep mentioning these people. We should probably like talk about the cast, I suppose. So you start out with Scarlett, who is this time I decided to actually pay attention to her.
Perdita Weeks,
and she is driven to a fault, super self-centered, and very manipulative.
Yes, without a doubt.
Like I'd never thought about it until this time. Because like the first multiple times I've seen this movie, I always liked her. But I was like, dang, she's kind of like, she keeps pushing people to do things they don't want to do, and she's like not thinking like how her actions affect other people. I can only assume that she didn't answer the phone because she was busy trying to like find some other missing link or some shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah, because she doesn't answer the phone for her father. That's right. Yeah.
And her whole trial through hell basically is her trying to like make amends for the people that she's hurt. Which to a degree is all their trial, I guess.
All of them have their own respective, I guess, ghosts, I suppose.
Yep. And they do a good job of foreshadowing those as well, which we'll talk about later. Let's see. And so she is accompanied by Benji, who's her camera guy,
played by Edwin Hodge.
And they go meet George in the tower, who previously she had a week with in Turkey, which ended up with him in Turkish prison
or jail.
Yeah, in Turkey. So they act as like the love interest of the movie, which I think they did a good job with. Like they don't super force it. Like
they have Edwin Hodge being, or I guess Benji being like the BFF, who I mean maybe is just solidly a best friend, not necessarily boyfriend. I mean I suppose
George.
Oh no, but even Benji and Scarlett seem to have something going, because there's a little bit of that weirdish tension when they meet up with George. I don't know.
I didn't pick up on that.
No, well,
I picked up on the weird tension when they went to the museum and she was like, "How do you know her?"
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, work friend."
Yeah.
They are then directed to go meet Papillon or Pap.
By Francois Civil,
who is joined by Susie and Zed, and they're like the experts of the catacombs. Are the ones that they go through there all the time. They know not just the area, but he makes a super good point when they're arguing that not only does he know the map, but he knows which tunnels are flooded, which ones are collapsed, which ones are dead ends, things like that.
He even says which ones are evil, which it's just like oh. Kind of starts perking up your ears, because like they really shut up right after he says that, and they begin to like look at him with more seriousness about it, which I guess the characters don't necessarily believe in that sort of thing, because they're treasure hunters, don't necessarily believe that there's dangerous lore, there's evil spirits and stuff, which I think is what helps to drive them to their treasure per se.
Which is kind of strange to think about, because if they're driven enough to think that that treasure is real, then they would have to believe that the Philosopher's Stone is real, which means magic would be real.
Right, the whole alchemical thing.
Yeah, well, I guess alchemy is somewhat more science-based. I don't know. It's just one of those things.
Slope.
Yeah. And then the only other real person is the mole that they meet down there. Who has
La Taupe, I believe it is.
Yeah, he's got the line of the movie, "The only way out is down." He's very, very correct about that.
That's literally quotes. The only way out is down. That's all he has.
And it's pretty much his shtick, that and being super fucking weird. I tend to not like most of the casting in found footage movies because I find them to be insufferable assholes.
Agreed.
There's always the guy with the camera that wants to be the filmmaker.
And there's the cool guy.
And then there's the bitch. And then there's the nerd that's just like, I don't know why I'm here. And then there's a black guy that's scared every time. Every time. What was that? Grave Encounters. He's the one that's like, why am I here? Why am I here?
It's almost like they're used for comedic relief, and I hate it.
Yeah. It's kind of the biggest cliche of them all. And that's the one that this movie didn't quite get away from. Other than that, I think, like, everyone in this movie, like, it's weird to root for everybody in a horror movie.
Right.
There's usually at least one or two people that I'm just like, fucking die already.
Please.
I'm so bad for Benji. As soon as he got trapped in the little, like, tunnel of bones, I was just like, man, please get out.
please keep moving.
This time I was kind of like, I don't know, I soured on Scarlett a little bit at the beginning. But then she's also, like, British and super cute, so I'm just like, I see why everyone likes you. And she's an asshole, but she's also a badass. When shit has to be done, she does it.
She bucks up, and I have to go back, and so there's a part in the film, if you haven't already seen it already, where she stiffs armed this stone ghost twice.
Well, she stiffs him the one time. The other time, I think she waylays him with the camera.
Probably either way.
It was.
She was hard
Good
charging
form.
for what she wanted.
It was good form.
Although, I guess the one part I didn't like is that feeling of when she finally put the stone back and then she looked at herself and it gave me that message, that really cheesy message. It was inside of you all along.
Well, it is now.
Oh yeah, no,
it is
but
now,
still,
yeah.
I'm just like,
And that's why she's like coated in red, because the stone's red. And
she's a fucking witch.
The stone, yeah. There's, I don't know. It's definitely a moody movie. Like, you turn the lights off and shit gets fucked.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it would work as well if you watch it like a bunch of lights on, like doing other things and
Pay
other
attention.
people in the room. Yeah. Like, the first time I saw this movie, I was by myself in a basement in the dark at midnight.
Don't listen to the Metacritic ratings on there or anything. Just go into it blind. I mean, it does a really good job of setting everything up before all the shit goes down. Like, you have characters that have these little seedy pasts with little bits of secrets that no one necessarily wants to talk about.
Yep.
They have little Easter eggs left and right that you can kind of see, and then they just kind of reflect back. Because I noticed the first time I had watched it, I hadn't understood why he saw the boy in the water, and then I realized obviously it was his little brother.
Yep.
The main reason why he doesn't want to go underground. And then the one dude has a burn mark on his hand.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily go into how or what necessarily happened, but I mean, it's kind of inferred when you see. I would assume his brother was in a car.
Well, they don't necessarily say if it's his brother or not, but someone he was with
Died
burned in a
accident.
car crash,
And then
he escaped.
I don't know if Benji really had anything.
Yeah, Benji and Suxi are two that don't make it out, that they never really discuss what their thing was.
I want to say, instead of the one burn hand dude, whatever his name is, Papelli, I want to say they're all kind of in with Lataupe or whatever his name is missing.
Oh,
because they were all kind of like a group that did that together.
Well, it sounds like that was like I don't know if it was like a tight friendship, but more like they would go down there and like they were friendly with him. But if they're being literal with he lived down there, then he didn't come back out when they did, which would have been normal.
Okay.
But it did seem like, even though it seems like Pop and Suxi are like an item, she seemed to be the one that was most like happy to see the mole, and then like when they go back, once they transfer to the other side, is the one that's like trying to approach him to see if he's okay, and then it ultimately ends up getting killed.
Unfortunately, yes. She gets right in the face.
I'm wondering if there's something with the white woman maybe for Benji, like, and I don't know if there's a line that we missed, or if,
because doesn't she have a child?
That's what I thought too, and I
you
thought,
hear a baby crying.
Yeah, but that's kind of Zed's thing, is that he's got a kid that he never fully claimed that's out there, and he sees the kid when they're walking through, and like the lights cut out a little bit, and he sees him like in the little archway.
I always thought that was what's-his-face's brother, Georgie's brother. But that would make
It's not
sense.
the same kid, yeah, because Zed's the one that sees him.
Yeah, because then he's staring down the hall, all spooked and white pale faced.
Yep. Let's see. The only other one is, I guess, we kind of mentioned Scarlett. Her little foreshadowing moment, other than mentioning that her dad killed himself, is when the phone's ringing, picks it up, and then it's just like a distorted man's voice on the other side saying, "Why didn't you pick up the phone?" and things like that. And George has the most, and they say he won't go under there. He talks about the piano with his younger brother used to play on, and then eventually Scarlett spills the beans that he drowned in there.
There's a lot of little fucky parts in there, and it's not necessarily my what the fuck moments, but there is a lot of what the fuck moments for me in this. I won't say mine originally, but I will say the ones that I've noticed during that whole time when I first had viewed the film was that he hits the piano, and then the key that he's talking about, and then there's the phone, and then there's the kid, and then there's all the people. Like, this movie is just filled with a lot of extra spooky moments that aren't like jump scares either, which is what I really appreciate this film for. Is there's no jumps. I mean, okay, yeah, there's maybe two, but like it's not one of those really cheesy placed ones. It's very well put. It's very in for the setting and the tone of the film, but they do a lot of these subtle actions in there that just gives you the legit chills. Like,
and they get weirder and weirder too. Like, they start out with weird, like the phone ringing in the catacombs, but not necessarily like completely impossible. They mentioned that they ran phone cables down there, and it would be a fucking really strange coincidence for it to just go off. But then the piano, which I guess you could argue, like when the street collapsed, maybe the piano was down there, but when the A4 key goes flat, and it's just like, oh no.
And then he's just hitting it, and then you just see that pan inwards, and it's like, oh shit.
And you see it click with him, he turns around, what the fuck's happening? And then the reoccurring line of the movie, we gotta keep moving.
Yeah.
I was like, that's exactly what I would say. I'm like, yeah, we gotta, let's go. Let's go. This movie also is now officially what I imagine hell to be.
Oh yeah.
Like, it used to be, I guess, random fires and people burning everywhere. No, it's walking around in a shitty dark tunnel waiting for something to kill you.
Right. They do such a... And that's the one thing I think that also draws me to this film, is it does a really good job of just kind of giving that uneasy, completely always tormented by not knowing where you're at, what could be around the corner, all these mysterious sounds happening out of nowhere, spooky people just walking around, like... There's just a bunch of uneasiness that this film has, and it just does it so well. I
feel like they were also really creative. Like, I wouldn't assume it had a super big budget, and so they do a lot of really like easy, quote unquote easy, like techniques to help build tension and scares.
Lighting, number one, I feel like.
And while they're easy, it takes someone who knows what they're doing to think to do all those and like put it together like that to effectively make this movie seem like it doesn't necessarily seem like a movie. Like, it seems like you're just watching something unfold. Yeah. Which is really nice. There's just a lot of times in horror movies where something happens, you're like, oh, fucking just took me completely out of whatever I was watching. This never happens.
Yeah, no, like when we watched Ghost Stories, I really liked it up until the kind of end there. I was just like, oh, well, I mean, okay, sure. But like this one, there was no moment that just pulls you out of it, because it keeps going up until they finally escape, and then it's just like there's no fucking, what is it, the spoopy ending where suddenly they're not really out of it, they're actually still in hell,
or like a demon crawls out of the manhole or something, or they get pulled back in. It's just,
what's that, Descent?
Oh, where they kill the girl,
she finally gets out
and they kill her. I don't know. There's also a lot of really cool, like, I don't know if you could say you learn a lot of mythology from it, but they cover a lot of stuff. And
it's a lot of old timey shit, but
being not like, I'm
not a historian.
Yeah, and I'm also not like, religious, but I know a bit about it, especially like I was always fascinated with like Revelations and all that kind of stuff.
Fascinated with the darker side of it all.
Yeah, and they mention before they go down, she's like, hey, look, and in French it says, and the sounds of trumpets will rise, the dead will rise, or something like that. And then the soundtrack is trumpets, and they keep hearing roaring trumpets as they get closer, and then eventually they get to the inscription that talks about the gates of hell and all that kind of stuff, and it's just like,
abandon all hope, ye who enter.
Yes, yes. That kind of stuff is always things that when I watch it, I just be like, oh fuck.
There was that part on there too where they enter in there, and then should I put it on there? I put it on there where God, this is gonna suck.
When they enter where?
When they go under that gate, or when it says abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
Talking about how they have to crawl on their bellies.
Yeah.
And they'll be made to crawl through their belly.
Yep, they'll be made to crawl through the belly, or on their bellies through the valley of darkness. And so, sure enough, that's what they do. And kind of solidifies the fact that we are in where we shouldn't be.
Yep. And I like that, I mean, it's, to a degree, this could be one of those things that maybe makes it or breaks it for some people. But the main characters almost know too much sometimes. They mentioned at the beginning that she's like well studied, but like when she grabs the different cleaning solutions to burn the thing out the back,
I was like, she must be a very hardcore chemist,
right? Yeah, but I mean, she studied alchemy, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's nice to know that it's not just all her. Like, her and George together are figuring this stuff out. Like, it makes it sound like it was his idea that she could find that Rosetta Stone type bowl in Iran. And when she says that to him, he's like, yeah, that crossed my mind too. Like, he's right there with her. Both are knowing what's going on, and he's the one that says vitriol, which eventually triggers her to know that she has to do it all backwards.
Isn't that gasoline though?
Vitriol or
Yeah.
vitriol? I'm not sure. It's a V. I'm not sure if it's vitriol or vitriol, because I know vitriol is like anger and
Fuel and
cruel
bitter
and criticism.
okay.
Yeah. So it might be a different spelling or what it is. I'm not sure.
Or sulfuric acid.
Yeah, which sulfur. Hell.
Yeah.
Talking with Sawyer also added extra layers of spookiness. With him being much more religious, he informed me of what they're really seeing sitting in that chair, and I was like, oh no.
What's that?
So apparently in Christianity, Satan's throne is not like a big giant cool golden chair that he sits on. Apparently it's just a dingy chair in an empty room.
Huh.
So it's very possible that figure sitting on the throne was or on that chair was meant to represent Satan's throne.
Because there is a painting, this painting, that it kind of reminded me of too.
Oh,
Francis Bacon's Screaming Popes, where like there's that. I remember seeing that painting and being like, just staring at it because it's fucking spooky as shit.
Yep. Those cloaked figures too, super unsettling. Like, you never really fully get to see them too much. They turn real quick for one bit and they kind of walk the camera really quickly, but it pans past them. There's just a lot of, like, there's a weird like black smoke thing that follows them, and they're fucking, I don't know why it bothers me, but their hood stays perfectly taut at all times. It's I don't like it. The first time I saw it, after I was done, I had went upstairs to get something, and the whole time I was just like, man, if I turn and I see one of these things,
I'm gonna shit my pants.
yeah, like, I don't.
You said it's not one of those. It's just an old rickety chair, probably like.
I mean, it depends on what who's drawing it and what interpretation, but just based on, I was gonna take his word for it because he knows much more than I would. It might be my favorite horror movie of all time. I don't know.
This one?
Maybe. I really like The Shining, but I think I like that more as a movie than a scary movie. Like, it doesn't scare me.
Well, the thing is I really like psychological horrors, and this one really stole it for me. There hadn't been really ones I'd seen before that really gripped me as well as this one, and like even for my third viewing, I still really thoroughly enjoy it. Whereas
It's
usually
still
I'd be
spooky
like,
too.
Okay, yeah,
Like, when shit starts going down, like, I still am like, oh no, oh no.
yeah.
Which is impressive that two non-religious people are terrified of the devil. Like, that's how good this movie is to us.
They do enough of that. It's just that psychological mind fuck that these people go through, and how they film it, and the cinematography and how they do it is just so well done that you still get the spooks. You still get those feelings when you watch it.
And they do it with enough purpose to make you realize that It's not just, oh, this is evil fighting people. It's this is evil that knows everything about you and will use it against you and will make you keep going until it's ready to kill you.
That's probably hell. That's the torment.
The only real question I have is what's their life after this movie? Like, they all get out and they hug. Well, they don't all get out, but the 3 that get out, they hug, and then
that body count starts adding up real fucking quick towards the end there.
It's just like, what's their next day like? What's their week, year like? What? She found the stone, and she said to her, it's all about truth is all she cares about. She didn't want any money or anything like that. But it's like, how do you deal with life after that?
Yeah, that's a lot of therapy. I don't even think therapy could fix that.
She's going to church.
And just that one dude just starts walking away. Like,
oh, he's probably going to find his kid right then and there.
It makes you wonder, like, maybe that's why her father ended up killing himself. Like, maybe he did go through all that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, maybe he was getting to that point and he was starting to get fucked with by him, and he didn't make it. Like, he might not have actually hung himself. Maybe it hung him. Right. Who knows? Yeah. Ugh. Is there anything else that you really need to go over? Did I talk about the CGI not being that great sometimes?
No, actually didn't.
So that's one of the other kind of downsides.
Which part?
So there's some times where it's really good.
The car crushing part, I thought
super
was pretty
good.
Decent.
Yeah. Specifically ones that like make me notice, like the CGI. Maybe you should have done that one. When she sees her dad hanging with the mask off, he almost seems 2D, like they superimposed it on there. And the other big one is when they're falling down the tunnel at the very end.
Like the portal type fall.
Yep.
I gotcha.
Yep. Those are the 2 biggest ones. So there's some other ones like the healing of the body parts isn't that great, but it's also not too bad.
Any point in that movie that's kind of took me out of it just a very little bit, it may have been that. But it was so small and so subtle that there wasn't a lot of attention drawn. Well, I mean, maybe a little bit, but it wasn't like, now I am a witch who can heal all your wounds. It was used twice, maybe, and then that's it.
Yep. And it's the rest of the movie, they did a really good job doing pretty much everything practical, which I think also helps the realism of this movie. Like, if the whole movie was filled with CG stuff, I don't think it would work as well.
Not at all.
It would just constantly be like, all right, this is a movie.
My other kind of thing about it, they had to jump down that hole to rectify what they were doing. But does that mean they went back to the normal world? Because technically,
I was wondering that too. Yeah,
they were in the upside down essentially. Yeah. And I mean, when they come out of that manhole, are they back to normal, or are they now in the upside down version?
Like an alternate?
Yeah.
Like a backwards? I don't know. That's another question that'll just never be answered because they just kind of walk away. I would think that they're back in their standard world.
I would assume as much.
Just based on them making it through hell. Otherwise,
jumping through the portal.
Yeah. The only way out is down.
Yeah. Which that film just keeps going with, like, oh, we have to escape. Let's go down this hole. Oh, wait, here's another hole we have to climb down through. Oh, wait, there's another hole we have to... maybe they came out the other side and emerged in China.
Looks like Paris to me. Did I mention I've been there?
Maybe.
Just got back from Cuba.
What the Cuba?
Yes, it was
I'm
so
on
Cuban
Cuba
of
time
us.
zone.
Yes. So the same time zone?
No, it's Cuba time zone.
Is there anything else that you're...
Not that I know of. I guess the 700-year-old body they found, was that supposed to be Nicholas Flamel, or who was that?
That's a good question.
Say anything?
Because they seem to know
looked like
where
a crusader.
Flamel... Yeah, they know where Flamel was buried because on the map they mark it.
That's true, because they had their gravestone.
Yeah, but it's definitely a Templar of some sort. Which I then obviously would tie into
the treasure.
Yeah, Illuminati and Templar and all stuff. That interconnected stuff. Which I'm glad they don't go super deep in on that. It's just kind of thrown in there so you see it. And there is kind of a melding of the different religions that the Templar would have been kind of mingling with throughout history. Like the Egyptians, there's some stuff on there. So it's kind of cool. Just one of those things that doesn't take you out, but adds a little bit if you know about it.
Right. That's kind of how I wonder how much of it was like drawn from legitimate actual events and sources. Like, I mean, granted, the whole movie's fiction, obviously, but like, how much of the stuff did they have that was actually historically accurate or depicted?
I would assume the majority of it is all based off of documentation. Whether or not, obviously, it's real, like the Philosopher's Stone, probably not real. But the writings of Nicholas Flamel and all that kind of stuff, I would assume is real. But people just think maybe he's a crazy man.
Okay.
Kind of like the writings about the search for the Fountain of Youth. That I think Drake was the one that was looking for that. So, oh, yeah.
17th century Nicholas Flamel. After his death, Flamel developed a reputation as an alchemist, believed to have discovered the Philosopher's Stone and achieved immortality. These legendary accounts first appeared in the 17th century, according to texts. He had learned alchemical secrets from a Jewish converso on the road to Santiago de Compostela. But anyway, he went really big into editing and publishing, and so it wasn't. I mean, he was a real person. He may have dabbed in alchemy, but his reputation as an author and immortal adept must have been accepted as an invention of the 17th century.
I'm not sure how they thought he was immortal, seeing as he died.
Right. He lived into his 80s, apparently.
Which I could see. I guess they're like, he must be immortal. We all die in our 30s.
He designed his own tombstone.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Kind of morbid, but
yeah. I guess we'll wrap it up then. What was your what the fuck moment?
Other than the whole entire film, like I said, a lot of those what the fuck moments. My biggest one for me was I couldn't wrap my head around that very ending part where they have to climb down to climb up. And so to me, that was a what the fuck moment, because I'm trying to grasp my head. Not only how did they film it, but, you know, I understand probably how they filmed it, but they had to climb out of a hole in an extremely awkward position because of the way that they did it. But during the filming, or during my first viewing of the film, that was one of my biggest what the fuck moments, because they discover an exit and they try to pull it up, but then they realize they have to push it out. And then I'm just left on the end of the film, I'm just like, what?
And it's like when they're pushing down, the light coming in is orange, and I'm like, oh no, we're not done yet.
So yeah, no, during my first viewing, that was my what the fuck moment. So I would say on the third viewing, I didn't really have one because I knew it was to be expected my first viewing.
Yeah, I just did all this based off of either first viewing things or things that are still there. So my what the fuck is the cloaked figure when they first see it and it stands up and walks by. Like, it's one of those moments where everything gets quiet and they see it before you see it, so they stop, and then you just see it go like it's moving but almost like floating. It's super surreal. And then they have to like walk past it while it's just sitting in the chair, and it like they know that it knows that they're there, but it's not looking at them. It doesn't give a fuck, which is even worse. Like, it's somehow worse that it doesn't look at them or acknowledge them, and it just keeps looking in its direction. Oh, I don't like it.
Give a fuck less.
Yeah, I don't like it.
You're in my territory now.
Yeah, it's like it's the ultimate sign of power. Like, you go wherever you want. You're not getting out.
Yeah.
What was your favorite scene?
I'll have to say when everything starts going to the hellish portion. So I'd say maybe when they break into that gate, that little, the scribblings on the wall, because she's like, can you read what it says? And that's when it really builds it for me, and that's when it really hits home that they're going into where they really shouldn't be going into, but she, just as an explorer and adventurer, just full charges on anyway. And like I said, when I wrote that down, option. Where she writes down, we have to crawl on our bellies through the valley of darkness, like, that's where it really just drives the point home for me, like, oh boy. And then just kind of everything after that is just, it's that good feeling spooky, I suppose. It's the good, solid, unsettling. Yep.
I had the same thing. Gates of Hell is my favorite scene. Like, he reads it, and that's because the whole time before that, you're like, man, there's weird things going on. But they talk about, like, the 150 people died during the street collapse, and like 50 more people went missing. And it's like, maybe there's like hauntings or ghosts or something down here. But at that point, they draw the line like, no, you are literally in hell.
Yep.
These are demons. You're fucked.
Solidifying the spooky.
Yep. And it's just, it's easy to put yourself in their shoes at that point too, because like, all instinct would be like, at multiple points throughout this movie, just, let's just turn around, but they can't.
Yeah.
Like, things keep collapsing on them. They crawl through that initial bone thing, and they come back, and it's right where they left them. But now there's no other way other than through that door, and at that point, it doesn't matter. Like, you're in this. You're either gonna make it or you're not. Who's your MVP?
My MVP would have to be Scarlett, only because of her hard chargedness. Like, granted, she was on a driving force to try and prove everyone wrong, but in the face of madness and adversity, she still just kind of pressed on. Granted, she could have just ended up giving up and dying as well as everyone else. But I liked how she was able to kind of, not necessarily in an almost supernatural, superpower way, figure anything out, but like she kind of started to piece it together. She realized in order to conquer everything, she had to face what it is that basically put them in those scenarios. Like when she was hugging her dead father, he vanished. When she just figured it all out. And so, I mean, not only that, but she's stiff-armed too.
Yeah.
You see the spooky face.
She's the brain and the brawn and the beauty.
Basically, yeah.
She, I do like that they take time out of the movie to show you their thought process too. So it's not just like, oh, it's a puzzle, this is how we fix it. It's like, wait, think back to all of our learning. What did we know? What time was this? Where things like that help kind of make it not seem so what's the term, Mary Sue, where it's like they're great at everything and they always win. It kind of gives some reasoning behind that, which I liked. My MVP was the catacombs.
Oh.
Any movie in the catacombs from now on will always be terrifying. I wanted to go down there so bad, and now I don't think I ever can.
I think I'd still try.
The catacombs themselves, though, like if this movie was set anywhere else and was about like the same journey, I don't think it would have been nearly as good to me. Yeah.
And then just as a bonus tip for you all, apparently this was shot in the actual catacombs set, and it was the first ever production that secured permission from the French government to film in the catacombs. The film utilizes a set of narrow winding tunnels of the Paris catacombs, complete with real mint skeletons creepily arranged centuries ago. So everything in the film is legit. There's no sets. Like, they legitimately pass by dead fucking bodies.
Yep. That's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Pretty dope, though.
And that nightclub they were in apparently is also a real nightclub in Paris, where DJ Axiom was actually performing a set. So that wasn't like that was actually going on. They're like, hey, we're just gonna
pop on here real quick.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh boy. And that was
to the authenticity.
That was As Above, So Below. Fucking 10 out of 10.
Without a doubt. Ignore what the critics say. I mean, you don't have to, but I mean, let us know if you don't like it and why you don't like it. I mean, I would like to have some constructive criticism on why you don't like it.
Hopefully, you've watched it before we spoiled everything. But honestly, I think if you know what's going to happen, it's still like I knew what was going to happen. And as soon as he hits that A4 chord, I'm just like, no, I'm not ready for this.
No.
I've seen this multiple times. It's still kind of terrifying. Oh my God. So this may or may not end our spooky month. We'll find out if we do a third one or not. On the 31st, it'll either be a trick, haha, we didn't get you, or we got a treat for you. See, that's Halloween references. I got some.
A trick for you or a treat for them?
Yeah. That's what I just said. Derailed all my thought process. It was so scary that my mind went blank.
That's what I'm good at. Do we want to do a trip? No, I shouldn't do 3 movies. I figured we watch 3 movies and just talk about them.
Oh, well, for our last movie? Fuck no.
You don't want to take that kind of time?
That would be such a long podcast.
You did it for Stranger Things.
Yeah, which is amazing, and we'll probably do that. No, Stranger Things comes out this month. No, it doesn't. That can't be right. Find out real quick. If it comes out this month, that's what the 31st is. Unless it comes out on the 31st, obviously.
October 20. Is it even going to happen? Was it an actual thing that they discussed?
Yeah, they've already. But I don't know.
Nope, not until 2019. What, you didn't want to make another super duper long video?
No, because no one watched the last one. It took like 3 days to edit. Still amazing. Still love it. Still my favorite episode.
Agreed.
But I don't know. Well, we might figure something out. Did you put up a vote or anything?
No.
Or did you put up the like, hey, tell us what your scariest movie thing is?
Yeah, I did. I got a few things, but nothing super duper. Train to Busan was on there, and then there was a couple other ones that people said they weren't super scary, but it's gory. We need spookiness.
Yeah.
Give me spookiness.
Gory ain't scary.
It's just thriller. Anyway, we've been dudes watching a movie, and we'll We'll see you.
That's my part.
No one's
That's
listening.
my part.
Fine.
That's
Continue
my part.
it then.
That's my part. Bye.
Toodles.